Hello, sports fans. My name is Mark Mortier from Yesterday Sports. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment. But first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by writing relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique, budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched in words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved ones this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
We did it! We did it! We did it! We did it! Hey, we finally hit 50 followers. Way to go, guys. Super proud of everybody. So, a few corrections from last week. A, Michael Waltrip won the Daytona 500 when Dale Earnhardt passed away. 2, it was 108 years between Cubs World Series. 3, I need to expand on my Western Conference domination. So, in the last 15 years, the Western Conference has won 9 out of the last 15 championships. Out of the last 10 years, it's 5-5. Okay? Out of the last 5 years, it's Western Conference 3, Eastern Conference 2. So, a little bit of parity. A little bit of not complete domination, but still, they have won more championships in the last 15 years and the last 5 years. So needed to expand on that as well. Other than that, I think last week's episode went on without a hitch. Got some positive feedback, so that was a plus. Was going to do an MLB preview this week, start the AL anyways, but since the and we'll get to that in a second too. Major League Baseball decided to cancel or postpone spring training games till March 5th. Therefore, we're going to push back our baseball preview. We are also going to... so, I think we'll do the AL in 2 weeks and the NL the following week after that. And then we'll break down of who's making the playoffs and who's going to win the World Series. We're also going to... the 95 season, I did say last week, was a full season. However, I was not correct on that one either. It was only 144 games. Obviously, that's probably, again, what's probably going to happen this year. But I think the owners have already put themselves in a bad spot by telling the players, hey, if we don't have a deal done by Monday, the 28th, then we're going to start canceling the games. Okay, well, as a baseball fan and also as a guy, doing a sports podcast, So I look at this as the owners are trying to overplay their hand by getting more power, getting more leverage, and most unions have a pay fund for players. So like your lower level guys are going to still get paid a certain amount, even if there's no games. That's what the union is there for. That's what the union does. Your higher profile guys are going to obviously take home a little bit less out of that pay fund. And that pay fund is basically set up for your middle of the road guys, your bench player guys. So the owners are on a power grab right now. And I don't think it's going to play too well for them. I think that, you're going to end up losing games. At this point, that's what it looks like it's going to happen. Unless they can magically strike a deal come the 28th. The owners probably going to go through that threat. But then if you look at it, the owners are trying to get more money out of the players half rather than... So they're trying to get more money out of the players instead of having the players be able to take some more money, because the players get money out of what's ever spent on baseball to put back into player funds, back to retirement funds, to provide resources for the players. That's what it does. Like they're not just making themselves more cushier. No, that's not how that's working, because they have an old retirement fund that helps fund all the retirees. Every sports union has that. But if you look at the lockouts, for the last, you had the basketball lockout in '99. You had the football lockout there for a second, and now baseball, and then also hockey. I mean, every sport's had a lockout so far in the last 22 years, and it's the owners just trying to get more money. And I understand the owners it's a business and you're trying to make as much money as you can, but the players also have to look out for themselves too, because they have a short window to monetize their talents that they are getting paid to do. So again, I do believe that we're going to have some games lost, and it's going to hurt baseball at the end of the day, because your casual fans of baseball that are watching this are going to end up turning off baseball. So now you got a $9 billion product out there, and you're going to lose money off of it when that shouldn't be the case. So, but they're all businessmen. They all know what they're doing, right? And I'm sitting behind the podcast. So I guess there's that. So this week, since we're not talking Major League Baseball, I'm going to hit some more fan email, some more listener email. Got another one in this last week that I thought was very intriguing. Listener wanted to know about drugs in sports and substance abuse. So we are going to chat about that. Drugs and alcohol abuse in sports is a microcosm of society. Alcohol abuse has been around in baseball for a long time. Drug abuse the same way. The only difference is now we're testing for it, and Major League Baseball has the newest drug testing program, since they just created one in 2001 or 2003. Then you have football, who has the longest drug testing program in sports, which it started in the 80s. So a little bit of history of drug and alcohol abuse in sports is you have, perfect example is Babe Ruth. I mean, the guy would eat hot dogs and drink beer. He was, I don't know if he would ever show up to a game drunk. I don't know if he would ever show up to a game hungover. However, I'm sure he did at some point, because he was a huge alcohol abuser and womanizer back in the 30s. That's what he did. He ruffled some feathers with his teammates. Lou Gehrig wasn't fond of him because of how he acted. Lou Gehrig was more of a professional, and Babe Ruth was a party boy. And then you can jump ahead to the 50s, and you got Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and Yogi Berra and Don Larson would go out and just get hammered all the time on the Yankees teams. You have, heck, Don Larson even said when he threw his perfect game in the World Series that he was still drunk from the night before. So you have. So basically, that was pretty rampant through the 20s and 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then once the 60s came around, you end up having street drugs. Had players doing amphetamines, doing blues and greenies to gain an edge. And then the 80s, you had a rampant cocaine problem in basketball, and you had a rampant steroid problem in football. And then in the 90s, it became a steroid problem in baseball. And now we have drug testing programs to test for any banned substances, which include your steroid and your steroids and your steroid diluters and all the drugs that can hide things in it as well. But they have actually done some positive work too, because they have said that we're not going to not allow, but we're going to categorize steroids and your cocktails and all of that sorts to gain that edge. We're going to treat those differently than how we treat a guy that's using heroin, cocaine, marijuana. So you have a guy that's using heroin, cocaine, marijuana. Now the first offense is going to be, in most cases, in most of the sports, the first offense is that they provide treatment for you. Second offense is then you are suspended and you still have to do treatment. Third is, in some cases, you are banned from the league, either infinite, it's either indefinite suspension, or it's, as in football cases, it's a 1-year suspension, and then that is then up to the commissioner whether or not you come back. You have in hockey that they allow you to smoke marijuana at certain points or during the season, because they are not treating it as hard as they do the other drugs, since it is becoming legal in most states, and it's legal in Canada, where hockey is a huge thing. You have baseball that really hasn't bought into that yet. Baseball is still treating marijuana as hard as it does on other things as well, and baseball has probably one of the strictest drug policies, and I think they went a little overboard with that as well, because you had the steroid era that everybody's complaining about, but you're going to put the commissioner of the steroid era into the Hall of Fame, but you're not going to put any of the players that have allegedly taken steroids that have not been proven a fact, like Clemens, like Bonds. Those guys were never they never tested positive for any substances. It was all hearsay, and it was all assumptions, is what it is. And the culture of the clubhouse has changed completely since the 60s and 70s as well to now. Before, it was whatever happened in the clubhouse stayed in the clubhouse, because reporters didn't have access to the clubhouse back then. Now the leagues have given reporters complete access to everything throughout the league, and they have mandatory interviews. So a lot of the signs of drug abuse are coming out, and a lot of it gets reported on a lot more now than it ever did as well, because a lot of times back then as well, the reporters were friends with the players, and now the reporters have kind of separated themselves from that. So you have a lot of things going on in all four sports, the four major sports in North America. Basketball stopped testing for marijuana when it came out of the back in 2020 when they started the bubble. They weren't going to test for marijuana at all. That raised some feathers, but they haven't reinstated that testing either. And there's a lot of players that advocate for marijuana use, not just for recreational use, but for also pain management. Same with football players. Football players are the same way. They've been trying to get marijuana to be more of a pain management situation rather than having it be illegal and having them not be able to use it. And I think that's fair. I mean, we have it legal in most states or have medical use for it, for sure. And then Canada, again, has it legalized. So I think it's only a matter of time where baseball comes around to that idea. And hockey has even stepped it up even a touch further. Your first offense on use of any other street drug has been raised to the amount that can be in your system. So I think it's a matter of all sports finally coming to the realization of what the real world's like. It's no longer trying to be. They're no longer trying to dictate what the players can do outside of the sport like they have in the past. I know they still have contract clauses in there that they can't do certain things, but with the more legalization of drugs, the leagues are going to have to follow suit at some point. The World Drug Administration, WADA, they frown upon how not stringent we are. Sports are on their drug testing, but at the same time, you guys they have to look at it as and most of them use WADA as their testing, as the people that administer the test. They'll use the same people, the same companies as that as well. So I think over a matter of time, it's just going to become more and more acceptable to use marijuana. The other stuff, you're still going to have steroids issues that you're going to have to deal with. But I really think that we've gone overboard on the steroid aspect of it as well. The steroids are a huge thing in all sports, and in the 80s, that's all they pumped up was just steroids. They'd get horse injections. Lyle Zeta of the Raiders said he used steroids all the time. Now, he said he got his brain tumor from that. However, doctors even at the time and now after his death have stated that his brain tumor wasn't from steroid use. So I think we have to look at that as well, and really put into perspective of what we're actually doing here. So, and guess what we get to do now? We get to have a quick little ad break since we have reached 50 followers. All right, so since I don't know how to figure out how to throw that ad in here, that's the thing that I'll just have to figure out. Whatever. Moving on. So Lyle Zeta dies not because of steroids, but because of the assumption of steroid use. Doctors, like I said, have since determined that was not the case. But steroids get this big old stigma out there that they're super bad, that then that they cause all sorts of side effects, which they do. Again, let me iterate something right now. I am not a medical professional. I am not trying to be a medical professional, and therefore any and all opinions that are going to be giving from now on about steroid use is just that, my opinion. So please do not take it out there and go then to go do steroids and say, well, Chad Kane on the One Guy with a Mic Sportscast told me I could use steroids and I'd just be fine. That's not what I'm telling you guys. Okay? Not at all what I'm saying. All right? So, steroids get this huge stigma. It becomes rampant. It becomes a big issue. People are like, oh no, big bad steroids. But let's really break down what steroids actually do. Steroids give you the opportunity to recover faster after working out. So it's not going to make you build bigger muscles. The steroid is not going to build the muscles for you. You still have to do the workout in order to do that. The steroids are going to allow you to recover faster. So if I want to do just concentrate on my arms for an entire week, then I take my cocktail of steroids, I work on my hours and work my arms out. Gives me the energy to do that every single day, if not more than once a day as well. So you can get big by using steroids. Steroids also over time has side effects like acne issues, estrogen issues in men. So you'll just develop man boobs and smaller testicles. All right, let's be real about this. There are side effects, just like there's side effects to everything else. However, I think we have taken a huge stance on steroid use in sports. I think we've gone overblown on it, as in the fact of baseball is going to ban you for an entire year, or I should say, ban you for a lifetime. Okay, football, your first suspension with steroids in football is 4 games. It's a quarter of a season. Baseball, we suspend you for 50 games. That's a third of the season, and then it just gets it's 80 games. It's like half a season, and then it's like almost a full season, and then it's a full season, and then it's abandoned in baseball. Like, let's be smart here, people. Okay, we didn't have a problem with the steroids when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were hitting home runs all over the place. And again, it doesn't help you hit a home run. Let's clarify that as well. Steroids do not let you hit a home run. It will get you the muscles to therefore be able to hit the ball harder. However, you still have to be able to hit a curveball and a 92 mile an hour fastball. That's all I'm saying, folks. If you can't hit a 92 mile an hour fastball, or you can't hit an 87 mile curveball or a slider, you're screwed, and you're not going to make it in the league. So it doesn't let you hit a fastball, doesn't let you hit a curveball. You still have to be able to have the hand-eye coordination in order to do it. So why are we penalizing guys over a moral? Let's break it down real quick. Steroid use is a moral issue. Is it morally right, or is it not morally right in order to use steroids? And all morals is a personal decision, is a personal preference. Okay? Now, you have different suspensions. We look at football players as gladiators. Baseball players aren't supposed to be gladiators, apparently, and whatever. Basketball players aren't going to use steroids because it would help them on leg day. However, the difference between being able to jump is your smaller fiber muscles rather than your large fiber muscles. So, yeah, you could use it there, but you're going to build the bigger ones first and not the smaller ones. So that's what you have to do endurance stuff and box jumps and stuff like that in order to get that extra couple inches that you need, or you need to do weighted jumps. So basketball doesn't really have a steroid problem. Basketball has a marijuana problem, and I wouldn't even say it's a problem because guys need it. And I wouldn't say you need it. However, if it helps with pain, helps with your mental stability, has all these medicinal uses, because we have to remember marijuana was a medicinal drug that was legal up until the 30s. most of our drug laws are due to the 30s, when everybody thought everything needed to be prohibited because of society was being ruined by it all. Like, and then you have the war on drugs in the 70s, which didn't really benefit anybody either. So, I mean, it's crazy to me how we don't evolve in sports as fast as we evolve with some rules in society. Like, it's there's a hindrance there. Again, it goes to the fact that you have 70% of your football players are black. 80% of your basketball players are black. You have Dominicans, you have Dominicans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Americans. You have, I mean, a wide range of athletes in baseball, and they're from all different sorts of countries from around the world. Baseball is a world sport. It's right up there with soccer and cricket as being a worldwide sport. Remember, basketball had to catch up to that. Basketball was never really a worldwide sport. The NBA had to expand to other countries in order to make it really a worldwide sport. So, so steroid use. So let's get back on the topic of steroid use. Steroid use, like I said, is going to help you recover. It's not going to help you hit the ball. It's not going to improve your hand-eye coordination. It might actually take some out of the way. Like, it's going to bulk you up. Now, is that beneficial as a baseball player? Most likely not. It's not really beneficial as a baseball player because baseball, you also need to be have speed as well. I mean, and Barry Bonds is the perfect example. Here's the guy that's not in the Hall of Fame because of alleged steroid use, because his name was tied to Balco and to the Balco investigation, and he's not in the Hall of Fame because he didn't get along with reporters. Basically, what it was, the reporters didn't like him. So to me, Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame for, as I've stated before, he had 4 MVP awards before his alleged steroid use. And the only reason why he did is because everybody else is doing it. Like, if McGwire and Sosa are doing it, then like that's how things work in sports, is you try to gain an edge. Now, you can gain an edge legally or you can gain an edge illegally. Steroids are basically, I don't know if they're illegal, but I know they're a substance too. So there is some restrictions to that use. But if a guy gets busted for it, man, let's really just have the conversation with the guy, or have him go get therapy or see a psychologist about the usage and whether to find out if he's actually a full-blown user or not, or if he just used it this one time. And then the scope of things that some of these guys can get popped for is unbelievable on this ban list. Like, if they take a protein shake that you can buy over the counter that has something on the ban list, like, they can get suspended for 80 games for it. Like, let's really think. If I can provide you with the substance that I took that gave me my positive test and show you that, hey, this is where we're at, this is what I took, this is exactly what I took, then, and I bought it over the counter, I went to GNC and bought it, so it's legal for the public to buy it, but I can't buy it because I'm a pro athlete. That's ridiculous to me. If a guy has to take asthma and has asthma and has an inhaler, and inhalers have steroids in them, like, you have to jump through so many hoops in order to just be able to be able to use certain medical drugs with these leagues, and it shouldn't be that hard. Like, you have to see, your doctor has to provide the prescription to the league doctor, and the league doctor has to approve it, and then it's got to go to the commissioner to approve, to say, oh yeah, you're fine, and if you ever get popped for it, we know now why. And if you forget if you don't do one of those, if you don't do that step of getting your doctor to give the prescription to the league doctor, then and you get popped, you're getting suspended, and it's ridiculous to me. Like our whole issue in sports with drug use is mind-boggling to me. Yes, some drugs we should definitely crack down on. Okay, there are drugs that definitely should be cracked down on, but drug use has been rampant in sports since sports started. Every everything has led up to this, to having to have drug policies in place, but we went overblown with them back in the 80s and 90s. In baseball, recently as 2004, like we went overblown with this. Okay, so let's evaluate these and figure out, oh, hey, you know what? This drug, yeah, if we don't want you guys doing heroin, obviously we don't want you shooting up heroin. Okay. But if you're at a party and you accidentally, I don't know, snort some snort some coke, or shoot a heroin because everybody else is doing it, whatnot, like, is this a one-time deal? Or are you now going to be an addict and we're going to, let's help people out, is what I'm getting at. Sports figures already have enough pressure as it is in having to perform every single day. Every single day they have to be performing at their best. If they don't, they lose their job. And granted, you know what? As a working person, I get that. All working people understand that if we don't perform at a job, but if we don't perform one time or it becomes a pattern where we don't perform, then yeah, we're going to lose our job. Same with sports people. Like that's how that works. However, they are on a microscopic level because not only are they going to hear it from their coach, they're going to hear it from the GM, they're going to hear it from the president of operations, they're going to hear it from the owner. Then they're going to hear it from the fans. They're going to hear it from one of you guys listening to this podcast about how crappy they are, all because they had a bad game. They're going to get death threats because they missed a field goal in a playoff game. Like, so think about what you guys do to relax. You guys drink beer, right? Oh, beer drinkers on here, I'm sure. Okay, I'm sure we got some weed smokers on here too. Okay, so you do that stuff to relax, right? Because you've had a stressful day. Well, shouldn't we give the athletes the same type of situation as if they're having a stressful day? Hey, let them have that. Let them do what they need to do, to take care of that at a reasonable stance. Like I said, if you're shooting up heroin, probably a problem, bro. If you're snorting coke, probably a problem, bro. Like, smoking a little weed, probably not a problem. Just saying. I mean, your lungs aren't going to like you, but whatever. So, and I think we need to lessen the penalties on steroid use. I think we need to lessen the penalties on certain uses. Baseball is way out of whack. Baseball is crazy out of whack. Now, football, that's probably about right. 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, whatever it is, that's probably about right. Okay? But let's take that in context and let's add that to the baseball side of it as well. Like, and baseball has a longer season. So, hey, if you get popped with steroids, all right, so you're out. What's it take? Like, probably a month to get steroids out of your system? All right, you're suspended for the next 30 days. There, you're suspended for 30 days. Oh, you want to get popped a second time in the same? And here's the thing: if it happens in the same season, good, suspend him longer. But if it happens in one season and then in the next season, okay, so here's for instance, if I'm a professional baseball player for the Chicago Cubs, okay, and I test positive for steroid use, all right, my first suspension should be 30 days. Now, let's say we're in the 2023 season, okay? I'm out here performing what I do best, racking up millions, getting things done, and I test positive for steroids halfway through the season. I've been already tested a couple times before. Okay, let's figure out why I didn't fail. Let's figure out what I'm doing now to give me a positive test. Okay? Because we're in the middle of the season, so basically I'm around everybody and taking pretty much the same thing everybody else is taking in the clubhouse, but I'm the one that pops the test. So let's figure out what substance I took. Okay? Let's figure that out first. In the middle of the season. If it's first drug test into spring training and I get popped, well, guess what? That's probably because I was juiced on the off season. I got swolled, man. I'm rocking guns. The freaking sun's out, guns out, bro. That's how we roll. That's how we roll, right? Then guess what? I get suspended for spring training, okay? Then get suspended for 30 days in the league. For 30 days in the league. First suspense that season. Okay. Then we go back. Now we go to the second scenario. We go back to that first scenario. I then, midway through the season, I test positive again. Okay. Guess what? You're done for the rest of the season. All right. It's July. It's All-Star break. You're just done for the rest of the year. Thanks for showing up. You're done. Okay. All right. So that's how that. Then I'm like, oh, all right. Well, what do I got to? So then I go, get clean, work out, whatever, come back, perform. All right. So then I'm like not feeling the way I should be in the 2024 season. I'm like, you know what? I know they're testing me a lot, but I think I can get by with it by not. I think I can get one cycle in and be okay without getting caught. Well, guess what? I get caught for that other cycle. All right. So now I have 3 positive tests in, say, a year and a half. I am then suspended again for the rest of the year and half the year the rest of that season and then half of the next season. Okay? That's how we do. Then if I want to come back, guess what? It's commissioner's discretion. I have to prove to the commissioner that I am no longer taking steroids and I am no longer juicing is what I have to prove to steroids. By this time, my club is probably say, yeah, we're not going to pay you no more. You're done. Okay? That's where we're at. Where we should be at with steroid use. In baseball. Football, I think you got it right. Football, you got it right. 4-8 year suspension. You want to come back after a year? Talk to the commissioner. Great. You come back and then you test positive. Guess what? You're done for a year. Come back and talk to the commissioner. Guess what? You want to get popped again? Come back in a year. We'll talk to the commissioner again. Sooner or later, no one's going to touch you, and you're just out of the league. That's the way it is. So, we need to revamp our thinking on how we penalize players for drug abuse is what we really need to do. We really need to just rethink that in this era of everything changing in society. So marijuana, we need to lessen the restrictions on that. Cocaine, heroin, we get them help. Methamphetamines, get them help. Steroids, be a little lenient on it, a little bit, maybe just a little, because again, it's not helping you be a better player. It's just letting you be a bigger player is a great example. So tone that down, maybe bump that up a little bit. You know, depending on what you're doing or not doing as a league. I don't know what hockey's is. I'm really trying to get into hockey, guys, and I'm really trying to. So just bear with me to all my hockey listeners out here. At some point, I will dedicate a show to hockey. But right now, it's baseball, football, and basketball, bro. Sorry for you. And I'm sure there's a cricket world championship coming up at some point too. So we'll have to talk about that. But again, let's be realistic on our expectations as a society. What we're doing in society towards certain drugs, how we treat that. Also, let's take into effect what state the player plays in or lives in, because different states have different laws, obviously, or countries, because different countries have different laws as well. Let's actually have a thought process and a reasoning why we are so actively penalizing guys so hard for drug abuse. That's my take. Is we really need to think about, was it really rampant back in the 80s? Yes. Did we fix the problem? No. Or did we fix it in the 90s? Yeah, a lot less use. Okay, so what we're doing now, what we did back then, now is the usage up now as it was in the 40 years ago? No, it's not. Usage is down. Like, guys are using other things. They have trainers. Every athlete knows what he's putting in his body now. So loosen the restrictions a little bit. Let them smoke a little weed every once in a while. What's going to hurt? I mean, again, what do you do as a listener to relax? What do you do outside of work to relax? And then take what you do and what you think a player should do and go that route. Because just because they're a multimillionaire, because they had God gifted abilities handed to them, then that's great. You know, but doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to relax as a normal person. Also, you have to think of basketball had a huge cocaine issue in the 80s. Okay, Len Bias died of a cocaine overdose, right? Here's a draft pick going to the Celtics, going to team with Larry Bird, and was going to be the reincarnation to help the Celtics continue their dominance for another 10, 15 years. And he dies of a coke overdose. 70s, again, you go back to guys doing greenies and blueies, greenies and blues, popping pills before games. Lou Brock, I am certain, probably did pop some amphetamines and went out there and stole some bases. I mean, it's just the way it is, or the way it was, and we recognized it. We have since fixed the problem. A lot of players, athletes, are more, like I said, more concerned about what they're putting in their bodies now than they ever were in the history of sports. So maybe give them that little bit of that benefit of doubt. Not go crazy with it, but a little bit, lessen the penalties a little bit. Don't be so harsh about it. That's all I'm saying. And Bonds and Clemens, Palmeiro, Rodriguez all should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. If Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame, they should be in the Hall of Fame too. So, thank you. I have no more info to give on drug abuse at this point. I do want to say thanks to all of you, as usual, for getting this podcast off the ground the way it has. Reached 50 followers this morning. That's a huge deal. That was 3 weeks into this, and we got 50 followers. Like, you guys are awesome. We have over 200 people that have actually started listening to a podcast less than a minute. All right, well, you listened to it less for a minute. You didn't really like where I was going with it. That's fine. Turn it off. I'm fine with that. But hey, at least you took the time to find it. You took the time to listen to it. The 70 that have actually listened to a minute of it, hey, I hope you guys come back. This is just going to continue to get better and better, especially if I can start getting some better equipment, because right now it's just a mic plugged into my iPhone. So, and I'm sitting at a kitchen table. So that's how we're rolling with this bad boy. Like, it's great. It's free flowing and fun for me, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it too, because the 50 of you that are listening to it, I really, really, really appreciate you. And the next 50, I'm going to appreciate you. And if you just find in this podcast, go back, listen to the other episodes. They're all really good. So far, the number one episode has still been Mount Rushmore. Right behind that's the Jordan, and then the NFL review. And we also had the midseason report that just came out last week. So you guys are finding it. You guys are listening to it. You guys are apparently enjoying it. And we're gonna plans are to make this thing bigger throughout the year, and just continue to grow this community that we're building here, one follower at a time, one listener at a time, one newbie at a time, one episode at a time. It's just amazing, and dreams are coming true, because again, never thought I'd start a podcast, let alone here I am having 50 listeners. 50 followers, so that's great. Also, hey, huge shout out to Matthew Berry on this podcast as well. If you go on Twitter and look at his likes from last week, he liked my tweet, boys and girls. That's right. He liked my tweet. So that was a huge accomplishment for me. Guys huge into, everybody knows who Matthew Berry is mostly. Fantasy football guy has his own podcast, has his own show on ESPN, started from the bottom, as he said in his 2018 column that, hey, when I started college back in the 90s, my job wasn't even around. And basically, he's one of the best, so if not the best fantasy football analyzer around. So, huge shout out to him for liking the tweet. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on TikTok. Got about 10 videos out there. It's just me talking about, hey, go watch my video or go listen to the podcast. And that's all we're using TikTok for. All right. Twitter, we'll post a few things on there. You can always reach me at oneguywithamic@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, or want to have me discuss anything. The last 2 weeks, I've been doing listener emails, which has been huge for me because that means you guys want to be involved in it with this program just as much as I do. So continue to be great. Continue to be listening to this. Continue to just be you. All right. Y'all have a great day.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
The Pigskin Tales podcast is all about the lesser-known pro football players. Yes, there are stories about the ones we know, like Brad Tarkenton and Harold Red Grange. But have you ever heard of Ernie Nevers? How about Dave Osborne or even Grady Alderman? These men created their own path to the NFL. How did they do it? Listen to the Pigskin Tales podcast, now streaming on your favorite music platform. Go to pigskintales.com.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcasts. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcasts. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.